All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a role that honestly gets a pretty bad rap, or at least a completely misunderstood one, the social media manager. A lot of people still think this job is just about casually snapping pictures from a phone and tossing them online. But the reality? It's fundamentally different. Today, we're going to break down exactly why social media managers are the true driving strategic engine of a modern business, and how they secure consistent presence, massive brand awareness, and most importantly, actual revenue.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to imagine, just for a second, that your absolute favorite brand abruptly goes totally silent online. No posts, no stories, no updates whatsoever. What actually happens to them in the real world? Do they just survive on their past reputation alone?
Well, the source material gives us a pretty stark reality check here. When a brand maintains a consistent presence, they stay top of mind, right? And that generates sales. But a silent brand? Man, they fade incredibly fast. Take the clothing brand Ello, for example. If Ello suddenly decided to pull their ads and stop posting just to save a few bucks, well, a single person couldn't possibly keep up with the manual posting required to replace that. Over time, that brand's image would just completely vanish from the consumer's consciousness. People would literally assume the company went out of business simply because they weren't showing up in their feeds anymore.
So to really grasp this dynamic, we're going to break the social media manager's role down into 5 crucial strategic pillars: the cost of silence, brand awareness, consistent presence, lead generation, and finally, competitive advantage. Let's get to it.
Starting off with Pillar 1, the cost of silence, or basically why brands literally cannot afford to be invisible.
Think about heavyweights like Adidas or Nike. Why can't they just let their executives post casually whenever they feel like it? Because in the business world, posting is existing. You and I can post a photo once a year and be perfectly fine. But brands? Absolutely not. If they aren't constantly generating and pushing out content, aggressive competitors are going to instantly overtake them. The social media manager's core responsibility here is to ensure the brand never, ever disappears from the public eye, which frees up the founders to actually run the business.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is Pillar 2, building brand awareness and planting these deep psychological anchors in consumer minds.
To permanently occupy real estate in the consumer's brain, these managers meticulously craft visual associations that are so powerful you don't even need to read the company's name to know exactly who they are. Think about KFC for a second. You instantly picture the Colonel's face. Or Colgate, just catching a glimpse of that specific shade of red triggers instant brand recognition. Nike has the iconic swoosh in that tilted typography. And Apple? They constantly position themselves as the thought leader, rolling out things like the dynamic island that everyone else eventually copies. A social media manager acts as the gatekeeper for these visual rules, down to the exact color hex codes and fonts across every single post, ensuring that brand identity is locked into your memory. And it all boils down to this perfectly captured philosophy. If brands don't constantly post, their competition will overtake them. It is a relentless, daily battle for attention. Without a dedicated strategist at the helm, a brand will just quietly die out trying to keep up.
Moving right along to Pillar 3, maintaining consistent presence. This is all about the actual mechanics of staying relevant without totally burning out.
So, how do they actually pull off this 24/7 presence? Well, it is highly systematized. It's definitely not about waking up, grabbing a coffee, and randomly deciding what to post today. First, they deeply research the audience. Second, they create content in bulk, using pro design tools like Canva or Figma. Third, they automate the scheduling. And fourth, they actively engage with the community. It's a calculated, strategic workflow built for the long haul.
And this brilliantly illustrates the massive gap between an amateur approach and professional execution. Manual posting? You're limiting a brand to maybe 1 or 2 posts a day before the creator just hits a wall and burns out. But in SMM, they leverage bulk scheduling tools like Buffer or Social Pilot. They sit down, map out 30 days of content in one go, and guarantee the brand is firing on all cylinders at 9 a.m., 2 p.m., and 9 p.m. every single day like clockwork. That kind of consistency is exactly what keeps algorithms happy and the brand front and center. Next up is Pillar 4, driving lead generation, the massive difference between just shouting into the void and actually finding the buyers. Because, let's be real, just getting views doesn't keep the lights on. There is a huge difference between going viral and actually capturing a profitable audience. Look at this split right here. In a typical e-commerce campaign, 98% of the people who see an ad are just going to scroll past it or watch it without doing a thing. Only about 1 to 2% are the people who actually click through to the store and buy something.
A true strategic social media manager isn't wasting their budget on that 98%. Their entire mission is optimizing content to capture, retarget, and convert that tiny, incredibly lucrative 2% slice.
To actually find that 2%, you have to ruthlessly define your target audience. The source gives a fantastic example. Say you're working for a baby product company. Who is your target audience? Actually, scratch that. It's not babies. Babies aren't whipping out credit cards. Your target audience is 90% mothers. By knowing exactly who holds the purchasing power, the manager tailors every single piece of content to speak directly to those moms, completely eliminating wasted ad spend. Which brings us to our final point. Pillar 5, the competitive advantage, and how they use data to actively beat the competition. This is the moment the job flips from content creator straight to data analyst. They're using cold, hard numbers to stay 3 steps ahead of the rivals. They are constantly digging into the analytics. They look at age and location to see who's actually watching, which lets them perfectly tune the brand's tone. They track what's winning. If short-form video is suddenly popping off, they instantly pivot to making more shorts and ditch the text posts. And they watch the comments to measure real loyalty, actively replying as the brand to build a genuinely tight-knit community. So summarizing those daily, data-driven moves, they absolutely avoid broad, useless tags, like #food, way too broad, you'll drown in the competition. They shift their focus instantly to whatever the data proves is actually winning right now. They build fierce loyalty by replying in the brand's unique voice. And they heavily optimize video titles and descriptions using proper SEO, so the brand is constantly being discovered by new customers organically. So when you lay it all out like that, the sheer strategic value of this role is undeniable, isn't it? It leaves us with one highly provocative question to think about. Is the brand you care about strategically leading the conversation using these techniques, or without a dedicated manager steering the ship, is it just slowly fading into the silent background? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.
What?